This is insane beyond measures as we are at peak silly season on the NBA calendar, and there is a wild trade proposal that has Stephen Curry heading to the Lakers and Austin Reaves heading to the Golden State Warriors. What's good? I'm your host, Okechi Apakama, and this is Lakers Digest coming at you with another video. And before we get into everything we have for you for this video, guys, I just want to remind you to subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already to get those Laker updates. Now, let's dive straight into that crazy proposal, as there is an insane 4-team trade proposal out there that has Stephen Curry ending up with the Lakers and then Austin Reaves with the Golden State Warriors. So this trade proposal is from Bleacher Report, and we're at that point in the season, guys, where there is a lot of trade proposals and rumors flying around about things that people wanting to happen, and that is the case here, as we just all saw USA take the gold and LeBron James and Steph Curry lead the way, and they looked great together on the court. And then people are wondering what that could look like if they were on the same NBA team. Well, Bleacher Report thought of a crazy 4-team trade proposal that between the Lakers, Golden State Warriors, Detroit Pistons, and Brooklyn Nets. So this was the trade proposal here, as the Lakers would receive Stephen Curry, Day'Ron Sharpe, Weldon Moore Jr. from the Pistons, and then a $3.9 trade million exception. And then the Warriors would get Austin Reaves, Ben Simmons, and then 2 first-round picks from the Lakers. And then the Nets would get D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, Jalen Hood-Schifino, and then a $23.3 million trade exception, also a $2 million trade exception. And last but not least, the Pistons, they would get Dennis Schroeder, Christian Wood, 2025 second-round pick from the Clippers, and then a 2025 second-round pick from the Heat. So this obviously is a lot to take in from this trade proposal, and just first and foremost, this thing would probably be very unlikely because it would hinge on the idea that Stephen Curry would have to ask for a trade specifically to the Los Angeles Lakers, which I don't see happening. I see him probably retiring as a Golden State Warrior, and that is probably the more likely route. But just for the sake of this conversation, how would that even look for the Los Angeles Lakers? Because obviously that big three of Stephen Curry, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis would be dominant, especially on the offensive end, because all those guys complement one another and they can play off one each other, as we just saw it in the Olympics. So these guys can definitely share the court together and things will work out just fine. The only issue is everything else in the deal, because when it comes to these multiple team trade proposals, you have to understand what every team is looking for and see if they can get any benefit from that. And first and foremost, it would be the Golden State Warriors, because they are giving up the biggest asset, which would be Stephen Curry, who is probably one of the best shooters of all time, and arguably could be one of the best point guards of all time as well. So for them to trade a guy like him, they would have to get a haul back. And just looking at that trade proposal, it's definitely not something that the Warriors would probably want to take back. Yes, Austin Reaves is a solid player, but then Ben Simmons, he's a virtual unknown at this point, as he hasn't really played consistent minutes for the past 3 seasons, it seems like. And then yes, you get 2 unprotected first-round picks from the Lakers for the 2029 and 2031, but you would like to get more in return if you're trading away somebody who is considered the greatest of all time. So it just doesn't seem too viable from that perspective. And then also just looking from the Lakers perspective, again, so this was from Bleacher Report, so this is what they said, because the Lakers, if they were to make that type of deal, they're trading out so many assets, so they would have to sign 2 veterans at the minimum to get to the required 14 regular season contracts, and then perhaps they would have to target somebody like Jetty Osman, Markelle Fultz, Justin Holiday, and Dennis Smith Jr. The lack of depth means the Lakers need good fortune with health for young players like Christie, Connect, and Sharpe to perform at a high level, and the flexibility next season will be marginal, with only the minimum contract to offer with a team above the second apron, something this team has been clear to avoid, and for an opportunity like this one. So I don't see this being a viable option for the Los Angeles Lakers. just because we really don't know like what the Los Angeles Lakers would really bring in return. I'm talking about in terms of like those free agent guys, because you're trading out a lot of solid role players. So you're trading out guys like Austin Reaves, guys like Rui Hachimura. D'Angelo Russell can be very solid in the regular season. Gabe Vincent, albeit like he didn't play Super Bowl for the Lakers last season, but he's a guy that was the starting point guard for a team that went to the NBA Finals. So there is a lot of solid guys that you're losing in this trade, and you have to supplement them. Yes, Steph Curry is great, one-of-one all-time player, and he's going to elevate your team, but you need those role player guys to really get you over the hump and therefore and further. So I don't really see this being a thing for the Lakers or the Golden State Warriors, or even some of the other teams in this trade, perhaps. Maybe the Brooklyn Nets, because you get off of a guy like Ben Simmons' contract, and then you're able to bring in a whole bunch of other people like D'Angelo Russell, like Rui Hachimura, like even a young Jalen Hood-Schifino, who still has so much left, I think, in the tank, obviously. And then that $23 million trade exception is huge if they wanted to make other types of deals. But then another team, the Detroit Pistons, like they're a young team trying to get younger. So getting guys like a Dennis Schroeder and Christian Wood doesn't make a ton of sense for them. Yes, they are veterans who've been around the league. Yeah, Dennis Schroeder makes some sense for them, but they're trying to build out and grow a guy like Cade Cunningham, who plays that same position. So again, this whole thing doesn't make sense for multiple teams, so this is not a viable option whatsoever. But as just this kind of leads me to my next point, as is this even possible? And answered it no, but I do think there is something the Lakers can take from this deal, and it is one name that I mentioned earlier, and is Day'Ron Sharpe. So he was mentioned in this deal, and I think he could be a very viable option for the Lakers, especially at the backup center position, because he was a guy that was spelling Nick Claxton over there in Brooklyn and did a very solid job in a couple of spot starts and a couple of moments where he got some minutes and some run. So if we take a look at his stats from last season, and they're pretty solid for a guy coming off the bench. He's got pretty good size, 6'11", good wingspan, and then he's about had 6.8 points per game, 6.4 rebounds per game for a team that is really struggled last season defensive rebounding the ball, so that can be a huge help. And then he just averaged just 0.7 blocks per game, and then this is for a guy that had limited minutes. So if you give him a little bit more minutes, this guy can definitely get a block shot per game. And then also he had about 57% from the field. So he's a guy that's going to take a lot of shots in close. He's not going to be a guy that's going to be much of a three-point threat, which is a little bit of a drawback for a guy like him. But he is your backup, and you're going to need him in those moments where Anthony Davis, who is not playing, say if he's off the court at that point in time, and then you're going to need some minutes from a guy like Day'Ron Sharpe to really keep that continuity of the defense, because that was the issue last season for the Los Angeles Lakers, as when Anthony Davis was not on the floor, then that defense really tapered off and fell off all the way, because they didn't have that defensive presence. Day'Ron Sharpe can be a little bit of that. Obviously, he is not Anthony Davis in any respect, but can he be a guy to mimic some of his abilities? So say the rebounding, say the block shots. That would be massive for this Laker team, who is just looking for, I think, a couple of those role players to really help solidify themselves and be in those right spots. And then I think they can be in position to thrive, because you still have guys like LeBron James playing at a high level, and then Anthony Davis, who came off of a second team all NBA season, and should have been a guy that had been closer considered for Defensive Player of the Year. But I digress. That is last season. But Anthony Davis and LeBron James are still at peak levels. So getting those right role players and putting them in the right spots, I think, is key for the Los Angeles Lakers, instead of going for these big name guys, especially as attainable as Stephen Curry. But let us know in the comments what you think about below. Do you think the Lakers, is this viable at all, that the Lakers are able to trade for Steph Curry? Do you think Steph Curry would ever ask out of Golden State and ask for a trade, because that is the only viable way this could happen? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. And then what do you think about Day'Ron Sharpe? So he's a guy that I really like, and I think can be a very viable backup option. And if the Lakers can make a deal for a guy like him, then I think they should do that. So what do you guys think about Day'Ron Sharpe as a player, as a backup player for the Los Angeles Lakers? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. And also, just make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. There is about 78% of you guys who are not subscribed to the channel just yet. And if you guys want more of those Laker news, Laker updates, just every and all things Lakers basketball, you guys want to make sure you guys are subscribed to Lakers Digest. All right. I've been your host, Okechi Apakama, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.